Kirk Harnack in Cleveland, Mississippi. Good afternoon, sir.
Thanks, John, and thank you for bringing me in. And hello, everybody in St. Louis. St. Louis, probably one of my favorite towns. I was born there 55 years ago. So good place. Good place to be from.
We're a good bit apart in age, but we're on the same line of hair color. How that worked out, but anyway.
Are you older? Are you older than me, John?
Significantly.
I doubt it. So thanks again, and it was great to say hi to a few of my friends there as we were setting up this broadcast. So as John mentioned, I guess you could say I eat my own dog food. We have a lot of Telos, Omnia, Axia equipment in our radio stations, and no, I don't get it all for free. We have to pay for almost everything. I got a couple of demo items at significant savings, but I got nothing for free. So anyway, John, I guess without a lot of ado, and I should mention to the SBE members there, that by the way, any of you who voted for me for a board member, thank you. I appreciate it. I get to go to the board meetings, and that's an interesting place to be. It's good to be on the SBE board and to help direct the direction of SBE. And if you have any comments or things that you think we ought to be doing differently, contact a board member who you know. And hey, you know me, so you're always welcome to email to me. It's easy. Kirk@harnack.com. Is the easiest way to reach me. We've got a board meeting coming up in Denver, I believe, in October for the national meeting there. Okay. One reason why we thought we'd show you some videos and then intersperse that with a little Q&A is that honestly, a whole lot of work goes into our videos. Some of them I get to produce. Others are produced by friends or consulting companies. Or that one that you just saw was actually produced by one of our dealers, our Latin American dealer out of Miami, Broadcast Depot. They produced that video. But a video is a very powerful way to get a lot of information across quickly, because obviously we put effort into the script and the visuals to show you as many features and benefits as we can, as quickly as we can. But we, of course, in a video, we're not there answering any questions that sound negative. Well, how come it doesn't do this? Or how do I make it do that? And that's what the Q&A is for. So I guess without wasting any more time, let's get into the first technology video. It's technology and money in the same video, because this whole tech of SIP and voice over IP, or voice over IP using the SIP protocol. Wish there was an easier way to say all that, but you kind of got to specify both, I guess. We'll come down to just SIP or VoIP at some point. Can really save you a ton of money. We're using that here at our radio stations in Mississippi, and we have three, soon to be four locations with studios, and we're saving literally about $1,200 a month cash by using voice over IP. We feel that it's okay for us at our small town level to take our phone calls and depend upon the public internet to handle all of our phone calls. And actually, it's probably 4 nines of reliability. That's not enough for some people, but it's good enough for small town America. And of course, there's other ways to bring SIP and VoIP into your facility. I did a white paper on this. There's information on the Telos website about some different ways to get this done, usually through XO Communications or others bringing nailed up fiber or nailed up other IP connections into your facility. But anyway, without all that further ado, here's a video where I explain the return on investment and getting those costs down. And there's some real world examples of stations saving anywhere from $800 to upwards of $3,000 every month on their phone bill. So let's roll that video.
IP-based telecom service will produce a 100% return on investment in 2 to 3 years. Hi, I'm Kirk Harnack with the Telos Alliance. For over 3 decades, broadcasters have chosen Telos on-air phone systems to put callers on the air. Telos hybrids help callers sound great. Now, I can share with you how broadcasters are installing the very latest and best digital phone technology from Telos and paying for it with significant savings on their monthly phone bills. Even better, the monthly savings continue, improving your bottom line every month, every quarter, every year.
Think back to earlier days of business telephony. Broadcasters were forced to buy their phone connectivity the same way they purchased other services such as electricity, natural gas, and water from a monopoly provider. Even after the telephone monopolies were somewhat broken up in the late 1980s, things didn't change very much because the technology was still the same.
With the introduction of Voice over Internet Protocol, or VoIP, voice calls can be converted into data packets, traveling over IP networks, private or public, including the Internet.
Broadcasters save money by replacing older phone and leased lines with newer IP-based services. Upgrading to Voice over IP technology, a broadcast facility will replace POTS and other legacy circuits from their incumbent phone company with IP-based connections from either the incumbent or a competitive phone provider.
While replacing traditional telephony connections with new IP-based ones, a broadcaster will often replace the on-premise phone system. This may include the business phone system and/or the on-air telephone systems. Here's where a calculation of return on investment, or ROI, comes in.
We'll discuss the on-air phone system, but similar calculations can be done for business systems. Indeed, many broadcasters are choosing to use a single or perhaps redundant VoIP phone system to serve both business and on-air needs. The engineering expertise needed to install and maintain each one applies to both. There's no shortage of information about reducing telecom costs with VoIP telephony. Much of it comes in the form of advertising and websites from VoIP resellers and VoIP equipment providers. Pricing is often simplified to show a monthly cost per line or a monthly cost per user. Often you'll see VoIP phone lines offered with two levels of pricing. One will be a base price with a per minute cost added on. The other will be an unlimited use price. Compare roughly $20 per line per month with $40 to $100 per line per month for traditional business lines.
Let's examine some actual costs and savings as reported by broadcast engineers in some top 100 U.S. markets.
First is a large commercial cluster in a top 50 market. By moving from ISDN PRI to a managed SIP connection, the stations are saving $900 per month, or over $10,000 per year. Their director of engineering talks about his cluster's telecom savings.
I was paying about $1,500 a month plus usage for a traditional PRI. I now pay $600 a month flat, which includes unlimited local and long-distance calling using a managed SIP trunk. Basically, it's a service provided by the CLEC or competitive carrier. They manage the traffic entirely on their network as voice over IP. With this managed SIP service for our phones, I'm saving the stations about 60% on their monthly phone bill.
At a community station in that same top 50 market, their engineer brought in SIP trunks at a monthly cost of $150. He installed his own SIP PBX phone system and new SIP desk phones. Had they used legacy POTS phone service, the monthly recurring cost would have been about $400 per month. Savings for this small radio operation, then, is about $250 per month or $3,000 per year. Another station in a top 75 radio market is using a combination of PRI and SIP connections. The engineer is responsible for cost optimization not only at the main facility, but also at co-owned station clusters in two other markets within the state.
For our business and on-air lines, we've moved away from 4 bonded T1s for internet and 3 PRIs for telephone and ISDN, replacing them with just one 30 megabit per second fiber link. We went from 6 megabits per second to 30 megabits per second for about the same money. Now we have 6 megabit per second MPLS circuits to our two other markets. The asterisk PBXs in each market have dial plans that direct market-to-market calls over this MPLS to avoid toll charges. Also, these circuits were much less expensive than having corporate WAN access provided to each market.
Our final example is a station cluster in a top 30 radio market. Their engineer notes that ISDN costs are skyrocketing and notes we should have weaned ourselves off that technology years ago. That's a candid and truthful admission, to be sure. This station cluster is now in high gear, planning replacement IP-based service. The sooner they switch to an IP-based telephone service, the sooner their monthly costs will decrease.
Several decades of broadcast engineering, management, and working with telecom technology have consistently revealed a common thread among all broadcast facilities. No two are alike. What we can do is demonstrate how to consider and compare existing telecom services and equipment with new IP-based services and the equipment needed to use them.
Here's what's interesting. Some broadcasters have taken a long-term approach to their ROI on telecom savings because they know it's going to be there by upgrading some or all of their audio consoles when they make the switch to SIP VoIP IP telecom service. The telecom savings can fully or at least partially fund the whole facility upgrade to audio over IP consoles and routing.
When considering a change of telecom technologies and providers, it's important to be aware of alternative approaches to both on-air and business phone systems. We focused here on the on-air side. However, combining the business and on-air scenarios will likely result in further savings and efficiencies.
It's absolutely true that no two broadcast facilities are alike. The best and most cost-effective solutions for new IP telephone service and equipment will be different for you than for your competitors.
That's why it's critical to bring engineers, equipment dealers, and Telos support expertise together. VoIP resellers can be helpful too, especially when they know you're looking for competitive pricing and a strong return on investment.
The Telos Alliance has brought together additional resources to help you reduce your telecom costs and get better color audio for all your on-air shows. Visit telosalliance.com for more videos and articles. I'm Kirk Harnack for the Telos Alliance.
So I'm back. Kirk is back, and we've gone through the ROI. By the way, something I want to remind you of what we talked about at the very beginning of the presentation. What that ROI could be doing, could be sending you to Vegas to NAB next year. Remember that, because if you get the opportunity to go, you know how much you're going to be able to get out of that. For our Q&A with Kirk, I've got a microphone so he can hear. So anyway, just when you have a question, raise your hand. I'll get over to you right away, and we'll go from there. But Kirk, a little history here. Of course, you and I go back a long ways in our relationship with BSW and with Telos. And actually, BSW has been with Telos longer than I've been there. And I began there back when dirt was invented in 1992, and after ending 20 years on the air. But we have been around with Telos since basically Telos began by the late Steve Church back in the 80s with a product called the Telos 10. And it has gone
my goodness, yeah.
Exactly. And one thing that you alluded to on there is that if somebody still has a Telos 10, you can still work on it.
If the part, as I carefully worded that,
yes.
If the part is available anywhere in the world, we may be the ones that have it.
Yes.
For example, there was a stock of little chips that we used to use in our telephone controllers for the NX phone system and the 2X12 phone system, a little ISDN chip, and they quit making them years ago, and we bought up all we could, and finally we found a stock of 500 of them on the gray market. Bought up all of those, only about half of them worked, and we set a few aside for repairs, and we used the rest of them to build more phones. And so, hey, if they don't make them anymore, we can't do it. But yeah, we do make a real effort to be able to service things years and years later.
But if they do have a Telos 10, I'd recommend let's look at an HX1 at least.
yeah. You've probably depreciated the expense of the Telos 10 by now.
Exactly.
So,
but now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So were there any questions in the room about the converting over to SIP and VoIP phone calls? We had some questions during the SBE meeting yesterday.
And we're waiting. They'll come up with them. They always do. It's not a problem. Now, Telos and Omnia first came together because of a long-term relationship between Steve Church and Frank Foti. And but before we get to that, I brought this up yesterday. I got something else, though, that I wanted to reference from your opening video.
Sure. What's that?
You mentioned Cornelius Gould.
Yeah.
Now, Corny has been there for a long time, but he was reassigned because they said he was spending too much time on the phone with trying to educate me, and they wasn't getting any work done. So then they said, no more talking to Lynch. That's just not happening. But
I think actually the memo went out to all of our employees about not talking to Lynch.
I've noticed that over the years anyway. So, but very helpful group over there. But what they've been able to do technologically over the long term, because when I started in '92, we had something called Switch 56, which nobody remembers today. But then we went into ISDN, which is now starting to fade away. But my point in all that is we used to have 30, 40-year-long technologies like cart machines. Nothing lasts that long anymore as far as being a current product line.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And of course, we sit around sometimes when we're having a beer after work, or there's a cigar place we go to when I'm in Cleveland sometimes, and we talk about the future. So what's going to be next after IP technology, after Ethernet and networking? And I mean, I don't know. We're not, maybe everything wireless using lots of millimeter wave technology, but there's just some applications where I can't see where wireless is a good way to go. So for now, infrastructure, wiring, and IP technology. And the amazing thing, of course, about Ethernet itself and Internet Protocol is the incredible flexibility. The people who designed it to begin with, had this vision that was extensible, and it's worked very, very well. It is a whole new world for broadcasters to learn, and I'm sure everybody in the room right there, most of us consider ourselves broadcast engineers first and IT people second, and for some of us that role is reversed. We find we're spending most of our time with IT and Internet Protocol. So if I guess I just want to say that we're so focused now on IP and making that work well, and for whatever problems there are still out there with that technology, working around those problems or making our system stronger, so because that's where everything is. This whole facility right here I'm at, even though it's a small town radio station, it's all Axia, and in fact, one of the pleasures of having a plant that was all audio over IP, and I say Axia, and I know that BSW is a dealer for our competitor Wheatstone and their Wheatnet. It's still audio over IP, and so almost all the same principles apply. When this group of stations here went on the air, I needed to get 4 STLs from here to 14 miles away to our transmitter site out in the middle of nowhere. And there wasn't even any internet connection possible out there. It's in a little wide spot in the road called Heads, Mississippi. But there's a 650-foot tower there that covers 3 towns in the Mississippi Delta area. Well, we wanted a way to get STLs out there. And the short story is that I didn't want to buy 4 950 STLs, traditional ones, just a lot of coax, a lot of room on the tower, a lot of splitters and amplifiers and combiners if we wanted to do that. I really didn't want to do an IP link and put codecs across that IP link, because then I'd have the coded audio problem. Everything would be coded, and that's not absolutely ideal. And plus it would cost a lot of money. I'd be spending close to 10 grand in codecs on top of the IP radios. But when I discovered that I could force some IP radios to carry Livewire, AOIP, and by the same token, they would carry Wheatnet as well, and actually AES67 might be a little easier to carry. Because I figured out that I could get that IP radio link, which happened to be a Ubiquiti AirFiber 5, to carry Livewire, but I had to configure. Basically, you turn off everything; it's automatic. Livewire and other internet, AOIP protocols, we don't have time to retransmit anything. Everything has to be now. So we got this link to work, and I've for the grand cost of the IP radios, which was about $3,000, including all the accessories to put them in. So $3 grand for the IP radio link, and literally a $1,500 node, or in the Wheatnet world, a blade at the transmitter site. I've got 4 stations of STL out there, and it's all linear. It's not compressed. And there's almost no delay, and it's linear, and it just sounds great. So at the moment, my processors are at the transmitter site, and the total cost of this STL for 4 stations, 14 miles, was literally $5,000. Because we were already AOIP at the studio, I didn't have to install a node or a blade at the studio. I just subscribed to the program channels, the post-EAS program channels, I was subscribed to them at the transmitter site. And then we take output of the mod monitor or the audio processors and ship that back. We got a two-way link, so we ship that back so we can do quality checking on what's going on at the transmitter site. So that's where that tech has been, and it's great, and I'm just absolutely delighted with how well that has worked out. If anybody has any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them now, or we can move on to the next little short video.
Oh, move on to the next video. Mine's about the HDVmixer, so.
Okay,
No,
gotcha. Yeah, and actually,
this is Alec. I was more wondering about platforms. Is it Facebook Live only, Periscope, or whatever else, or what platforms do you work with?
Well, certainly, yeah. You can stream to 5 platforms simultaneously. So you can be doing Facebook Live, you can be doing YouTube Live. You can go to your own CDN if you want. So you can have a video player on your website or on a mobile phone app. Yeah, and you can also do recording, and it does video transcoding. Yeah, and it also does video transcoding into 3 different video qualities. So you could be recording at very high quality and streaming to Facebook Live with a little bit less quality, and maybe to smartphones in even lower. Yeah.
Thanks. That was the other part of my question was about
About
do you record locally? Because I know Facebook Live, will rebroadcast effectively for you, but I didn't know if your system did that as well, so you could throw that wherever you wanted. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, yeah. By the way, we are just now, instead of going live to Facebook, we are recording all this, and we are later on going to post it on YouTube channel and probably on Facebook too. Yeah.
Correct. Thank you. And as any other questions come up, just get ready, and I will bring. You have one, Dodie? Okay. But anyway, when we do, let me just get the microphone over so Kirk can hear you just fine. But what we're getting across here, too, is, hey, this is all the kinds of things that you can be doing on your Facebook Live. You're doing the live show from here. You've got your guest who's coming in. And this is why you would go to Facebook Live in any kind of a show, because you've got a special guest like Kirk or whoever is on your radio show, and you get that across right now to the Facebook people who are monitoring you, have liked your page, that sort of thing. So you're expanding your contact with your listeners from that point. And also, as you can hear from Kirk, it can sound really good coming in over, it used to be, Skype. But hey, you know what? Sounds really good. Of course, look at what he's using. A Sennheiser 416 microphone. It starts really right there.
Yeah. And hey, by the way, thanks for the HDV mixer question. I haven't gotten a chance to talk with Alex any more than just getting this Skype set up, both here and yesterday in Kansas City. So I would love myself to see what you guys have seen on the presentation.
Well,
of
you'll
the
have to
HDV
have
mixer.
him as a guest on a future This Week in Radio Tech.
Yeah, we ought to have you on, Alex.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And by the way, I'm going to send you the video link when it's up in YouTube, so you can see what's going on this end.
But you saw what we were able to do, too, is that we had the live radio, then we went to the recorded piece, then we bring on the guest. All of these kinds of things. You could have somebody out doing a remote somewhere, and that could be another element, because remember, you've got up to 6 total inputs on the basic Facebook Live package, which, by the way, there are 3 different levels, but we're just talking the basic right here. We're using 2 cameras. We could be using as many as 4. Alex,
Correct.
pick up on that.
Yeah, correct. 4 cameras, a Skype feed, a video player feed. Those are currently the 6 inputs that we could be having right now. Mm-hmm. And it's hooked up to the audio console using contact closures. So as soon as I open a microphone or I open the Skype channel, Kirk goes live, and you can see it here on the video streaming.
It's like if you, on your Axia consoles with the contact closure, same thing as we're doing with the Wheatstone and the contact closure, so it all can follow as you cue a microphone to bring that camera on, or it can be audio triggered too. Just depends on which way you want to do it.
Yeah, you can.
On the basic package, that's not included, but that can be an option. But on the mid-level and the large units, the audio follow-on or something like
Video
that?
follows
Video
audio.
follows audio.
The
Okay,
other
well,
way
I
around,
knew there's some term I can never remember, but that's included in the medium and the larger packages on that.
You can prioritize which screen comes up, which display, which camera
Yeah,
is on.
certainly. Yeah, because for instance, when you have two guys speaking back and forward, or maybe they are both speaking at the same time, what you want to do is to trigger a third camera with a wider shot of the entire studio. Okay, instead of doing a split screen or something like that. Yeah, so you can preset all that. Yeah, you
To
can
put
preset
it
in any
into
way you want.
context, if you have Bill O'Reilly and Chris Matthews talking, just do one camera to cover both of them. That's you're going to go crazy going back and forth that way. Anyway,
Absolutely.
Kirk, let's go on
let's go.
to, we got the next video we want to talk about, and the topic is?
Well, it'd be the Omnia Volt, and I want to show this video and make sure everybody knows about the Omnia Volt, because, you know, in so many markets, engineers are challenged with, hey, we just got 2 translator licenses. Hey, we just got we need to help somebody with an LPFM license. It just seems like there's so much going on. In Nashville, there's now some translators that are owned by big corporations, and they're putting whole new formats on them. I was just talking with Larry Fuss, my business partner here at these stations. He's got a friend in I think in Wyoming who owns 3 stations, 3 FMs in a market, which is the most he can legally own. But he also has 5 translators, and those 5 translators are bringing in 5 additional formats. You talk about plenty of radio. And so when you bring things on, you're going to be looking for audio processing for these FM analog translators or a backup. So, you know, for some years now at Omnia, we've had the Omnia 1. And it's actually been the most successful audio processor that we know of ever made. We've shipped now, I want to say, close to 20,000 of them around the world. The Omnia 1. Well, we've had a successor
Put it into
now.
another context. The Omnia 1 is kind of the 737 of processors. You know?
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
And it's been it's a $3,500 processor, and as you know, you could upload different firmware packages to it to make it FM, AM, or studio processing, and or HD processing. So we needed a successor to the Omnia 1. It's just getting long in the tooth. And as some people have pointed out, hey, it's the same hardware. Well, internally, it is almost exactly the same hardware. It's got a new front panel. But what's different, people ask me, well, what's different about the Omnia Volt versus the Omnia 1? Well, the firmware is actually completely different in terms of the processing algorithms. And the biggest difference I can point out is, are there any engineers in the room there who have an Omnia 11 that you have upgraded to the GeForce processing package? And I can't see too well on my screen, so is anybody raising their hands yet?
1.
Nope.
1.
Okay.
Or 2.
And you know, I've been around audio processing all my life, and you know, I love what we do, but it's still processed. I get that. And Frank Fody and team do a fantastic job, but it's still processed. Well, I've got an Omnia 11 at my office at home. When I got Corny's GeForce package to put in the Omnia 11, and I popped my headphones on for the first time, and I put in a song that I'd heard a bazillion times. I know every nuance of this song. I sat there listening to it with the GeForce, and quite literally, and this is the engineer in me talking, not the salesman in me talking. Quite literally, my jaw just flew open, and the thought through my brain was, this is the way this song is supposed to sound. It didn't sound, it sounded processed, but it was this wonderful feel-good processing. It wasn't suck and pump, and it wasn't all limited and squashed. It had this dynamicness to it that went, yeah, I want to hear this song this way. This is like the original, but everything I like has been brought up and brought to the fore. Whereas regular processing, and I don't mean to put down other Omnia products or anybody else's product, but regular processing, it's like you got to do it to be competitive. And yes, it can be better than maybe the original and better than people using other processors. But this GeForce was amazing. So I tell that story to tell this, that the people say, what's different about the Omnia Volt versus the Omnia 1? Well, the Omnia 1 was developed before Cornelius Gould developed GeForce. And the Omnia Volt was developed after Corny developed GeForce. Now, I'm not saying that the Omnia Volt has the whole GeForce package in it, but a lot of Corny's ideas for dynamics processing, which really affect your brain and just make you feel good. It's like candy. It's like ear candy.
Almond Roca.
Those are. What's that?
Almond Roca.
Yeah. Yes, almond Roca for your audio. Some of that's in the Omnia Volt. How much, I don't know exactly. They keep us all in the dark about that. That's the story. Let's watch the little 2-minute video about the Omnia Volt, and if there's any questions about it, happy to answer those, so please roll it.
More top radio stations choose Omnia than all other competing processors combined. Now meet the Omnia Volt, sharing lineage with Omnia processors like the Omnia 11, electrifying, competitive, market-leading audio in a compact one-rack unit package. With Omnia Heritage built in, the Omnia Volt includes Dynamics Magic from Omnia Chief Algorithm Designer Cornelius Gould, including 6 AGC sections from start to finish, deep bass, warmth, and stereo enhancers, 5-band time-aligned limiter, the world's best presets to get you started right, and spectrally pristine final processing designed by Frank Foti. Omnia Volt users love its Quick Tweak feature. Quick Tweak distills years of processing knowledge and proven approaches into simple controls that turn you into a processing pro. Nail your signature sound in minutes using advanced presets or your own settings right from the Volt's front panel or a PC. Omnia Volt brings charisma to your station's audio. FM translators and low-power FM stand out among the crowd. AM stations maximize clarity and coverage. Digital broadcasts sound clear and musical without fatiguing artifacts. Smart design, clearly visible outside and inside. Input and output connections in analog, AES3, LiveWire, and multiplex for FM. Automatic input selection handles redundant STLs. Remote control works with today's browsers, tablets, and smartphones. Idealized patch point for external watermarking. And hardened construction to withstand lightning strikes, surges, high RF fields, and harsh conditions.
The new Omnia Volt is stunning. Everyone will know you've got an Omnia on your station.
Omnia Volt is versatile too. DSP Core firmware alters the personality of Volt to fit your changing needs. FM, AM, digital transmission, or studio processing. Volt can even be used as a standalone stereo generator. DSP cores aren't extra cost add-ons. Download the functionality you need for free. The Omnia Volt. Omnia audio processing for any station, and a smart upgrade for aspiring broadcasters. Proven audio processing that'll leave your competitors in the dust.
It just goes to show that as we have learned at BSW in the 25 years I've been with them, well, 25 years in October, and prior to that time, Telos, Omnia, Telos Alliance, they're not a company that just lives on their past. They're always looking forward to the future. And Omnia Volt is now that future for so many stations at that level as it takes over for the Omnia One. Kirk?
Yep, I think that's right. We're kind of looking forward to over time selling 20,000 of those as well. For a lot of you with multi-station clusters, and boy, who isn't in that boat nowadays? It's a great backup processor because you could keep it loaded with AM and FM processing and just choose which one you want on boot. And if your AM processor dies, run it out to the AM transmitter site, and bam, you've got that. So you can have one sitting on the shelf, for your various stations. Of course, it'll also process your HD signal or your on-air stream, your internet stream. It'll do that as well. If there are any questions at this point, because when we're done with questions, I'd like to show the last video because it's fun and beautiful and cool, and that'll be it.
Gets a little airtime too, doesn't it? Or up
What's
in the
that?
air, shall we say? Our last video that we'll be doing here. So
yes, yeah. Yes. So one of the things I'm a frustrated private pilot, and that means I'm since I got married, I haven't had time and money at the same time to do private pilot flying. So when drones started becoming popular and capable, I got really interested in those and got around earlier this year to taking the commercial test for drone pilots. So I'm Part 107 licensed now because my private pilot privileges were not current, so it was cheaper to take the drone test, and got a Mavic Pro drone. I've really been playing with it in terms of, I enjoy beauty shots of towers and such, and other things like power plants, big stuff, bridges, dams, the places where they sometimes don't want you to fly, and but I've also been playing with it in terms of tower inspection. And I'm not sure that the Mavic Pro is the best platform for that. There are more expensive drones that are even more stable, that would let you fly within perhaps inches of a tower to really get a better look at bolts and connections and things like that. Is the tape unraveling from from a connector? And then as far as the whole signal strength measurement and pattern measurement, that's beyond my capability to do development on that. But I'm certainly in touch with Cavell and Mertz, the consulting company. They have they have that down now, and they're perfecting it even further. And there's an Australian company called 6 Arms, I guess because the copter they use has 6 rotors on it, and they've got this down to a good science too. I'm sure there's room for improvement from both companies, and I'm sure there's others as well. Anyway, that is all to say. I wanted to show you this little video. I shot this just a few days ago, like 4 days ago. This is a video of the tower. Actually, this is the tower site I mentioned earlier, where I'm getting 4 FM stations to the tower site over an IP radio. And in the video, you'll see the Ubiquiti air fiber. It's the kind of a figure 8, 2 horns on the same mount, as well as you'll see another STL dish, and you'll see a grand total of 4 FM antennas. One's a single bay backup. There's a 3-bay ERI. There's an 8-bay PSI. And then there's the top antenna, I believe, is a Jam Pro. It's the one that we don't own. So anyway, if you're ready, roll this. It's only 1 minute and 45 seconds, and turn the sound up and enjoy the video.
Okay.
All right.
Only an engineer could talk about beauty shots of a tower.
I know, but I love them. By the way, that website, aeroshots.tv, I just established that in case I ever decide to, make some money at this, and then I'll have a tax deduction. But if you just go to aeroshots.tv, it'll actually just forward you to the YouTube page, where there are plenty of other tower videos, power plant video from a huge 1.7 gigawatt facility in Tennessee, and a few other interesting videos as well. So,
by the way, it was you controlling the drone next to SUV? Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah, I was the cameraman. I edited it, and I didn't write the music. I got that from a guy who doesn't mind you putting music on. That's his, as long as you give him credit.
Uh-huh.
So
Wow.
anyway, I love this kind of stuff, and so maybe my engineer friends will like some of it too.
Yeah.
And what we're
congrats for
talking
the video.
about also on HDVmixer, but just consider the whole package, because this is what is on your Facebook page at the time. You've got the idea of where we're at, of HDVmixer, Kirk Harnack from Telos Alliance. We've got the news scroll. If we had Facebook messages or tweets coming up, they would show up right up here. Kirk could be answering them, or I could be answering them right alongside during this program. We've got our multiple cameras. Again, we could have up to 4 on the basic. When we go to the larger ones, how many cameras do we max out at?
Yeah, you could end up having up to 9 video inputs, and normally you don't use more than 4 cameras, but what you use is PTC, robotic cameras, so you start zooming in to the guy that's speaking in the studio, yeah, or zooming out, or yeah, that kind of stuff.
So in this case, we've got the Skype camera, we've got the camera in here. We have 2 that we're working with, but all of this going on your Facebook page, and of course, when you launch on Facebook Live, all of your people who have liked your page, they're immediately notified, so they know to get on live. And you're putting them on live because you've got something of import, like in this case, an interview that a lot of people would like to participate in, see what's going on, and not only hear what they're talking about, but also see the guest who's involved as well. So that's all part of HDVmixer. And Kirk, want to thank you for being our guest today and explaining a lot about the Telos Alliance to the assembled group here at SBE 55. Any questions before Kirk gets away? We got them all covered? Here we go. Stand by.
Okay.
Well, I don't know who's the best to answer, but the HDV, when you press an audio source or a mic on that's a Wheatstone board, right?
Yeah, this one is a
is there a command or a separate command that's programmed?
Yeah, certainly. We are using the contact closures on the blade. So each of these faders, it's closing a separate contact closure. Yeah, it's a real contact closure, yeah, and on Axia systems,
thing?
it's the same thing, yeah.
Or,
we use the
as I
logic
mentioned
ports.
too, if we're not dealing with either digital series, we could do something as easy as an $800 Allen & Heath XB10 mixer. Also has the contact closures that you can utilize that. But they work really well with the Axia and the Wheatstone products.
Yeah, certainly.
You did mention that it can be driven by an audio source and not necessarily logic, but triggered by an audio source.
Talking about the video following audio?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
do
that's
that too.
correct. In that case, what you do is you do both things, because you need to know through the contact closure which microphones are on the air, and then measure the audio levels on all the microphones that are currently on the air.
There's a trigger level that's set, so when
that's
someone's
correct.
speaking, it'll
That's
open
correct. Yeah, you select the trigger level. I can show you in the software how that looks like. You set the trigger level for each of the microphones separately, and the amount of time that you want to hold into.
Sure.
Yeah,
So
after someone
coughs or something,
If
you know what
if
that
he
mic will come
coughs,
on.
yeah, it won't trigger the camera. And also after he if he does a pause when he is speaking, the camera will hold, because maybe you are just doing a pause and you are continuing speaking, and you don't want for the camera to switch back to a wider shot and come back to you.
So there's some experimentation with getting it where it's going to be.
Yeah,
smooth
certainly.
operation.
Actually, I like to use a 1 second delay to trigger the camera, and a 4 second delay. That works really good as a hold constant.
Kirk, want to thank you for all of the time you've devoted us yesterday and today for the 2 groups of SBEs in Kansas City and here in St. Louis. By the way, before you leave, little plug on your program that BSW is proud to be a partner of, called This Week in Radio Tech. Tell us about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, in fact, our next show is today. It's occurring at 4 o'clock Central Time, so that's 2.5 hours from now. And we do the show every Thursday at 4 Central Time. We talk to people in all walks of life. We do the show live at 4. You can also look at the recorded and produced version. It's usually posted within 48 hours of the show. There's a YouTube channel. Just search for This Week in Radio Tech on YouTube. You can subscribe to that channel if you're a YouTube subscriber. And we also put the show live on Facebook Live, warts and all, if you will, because that's the live version. So you can watch that. There's a Facebook page called This Week in Radio Tech, or TWIRT, TWIRT. There's my personal page too, Kirk Harnack, and it's available there too. And our network that actually produces the show, they have their own website, and of course it's all over there on their feeds on Ustream and Daily Motion and things like that. Their site is gfqnetwork.com, and they have other interesting shows too. If you're into pro wrestling, they have those shows. They also have a show called What the Tech. It's about Windows and Windows issues and problems with Paul Thurrott. He's an author, pretty famous for writing Windows books, Secrets of Windows 10, things like that. And so on the show, we've had everybody from, we had Steve Church, Bob Orban's been on a couple times with us now. Mike DeRoe has been on with us. And today our guest is John Holt, recently retired chief engineer at WAMU in the D.C. area. And John has an amazing collection of microphones that date from the 1920s and later. So he's going to be doing some show and tell with us on our show today. If you can't catch it live at 4, you can always download it, watch it repeat, see it on YouTube, or just go review it on Facebook Live, because it gets permanently posted to there as well.
And you could tell the network, if they ever have an interest in having a program devoted to boat racing, have them give me a call.
There you go. Oh, all right.
Kirk Harnack has been our guest. Gentlemen, let's thank Kirk for being here from Telos Alliance, live from Cleveland, Mississippi. By the way, I was in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 2 weeks ago.
In Cleveland, Ohio.
That you talked about in the opening video here. And, it's something that we all grew up in it. We all should go. It is just a fabulous facility with everything that's going on over there. So we did. This is actually a lifelong friend of mine had his bucket list trip. So we did Cooperstown, Baseball Hall of Fame, Canton, Pro Football Hall of Fame, and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. It was a great week. So if you get to Cleveland, get to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Like any other good tourist attraction at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you do exit through the gift shop.
Yes, of course. And we did, too.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Kirk, thank you so much. Have a great show this afternoon, and we'll catch you down the road.
Okay. Take care, John. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
So anything else that we could answer regarding HDVmixer while we're here? I think we could probably bring the lights up a little bit, too. So
Absolutely.
So anyway, but...
We don't have the interface here. We have two flavors of interfaces: only GPIs and GPIs plus audio. Yeah, I can show how the interface look like on the internet. Yeah, but
is that a separate option?
Yeah, it's a separate option. Yeah.
At the basic level, there's 3 packages. Basic level, it's an option. The other 2, it's included.
Yeah.
So just depends on what's a good fit. And right now, what we've been finding out, in fact, we had our first show was with the National Religious Broadcasters in Florida this year. And a lot of them came up and said, gee, we wanted that video file.